Hello again, this is the continuation of the series of sonography instrumentation, and today we'll see the scan converter. Scan converter is this part. So if you go again for the main components of the ultrasound system, you have the transducer here, and we have the pulsar. The pulsar is responsible for creation and transmission of the electric voltage to the transducers. We call them pulses. And from the transducer, we get here the pulse is converted to sound waves. Sound waves are reflecting back, and they are converted to the electric voltages that will be received by the beamformer and then to the receiver. So from the receiver, it's doing its all jobs, which is the amplification, compensation, compression, demodulation, and rejection. After all these are done, they are given to the scan converter, and the scan converter will take these impulses or electric voltages and convert them to an image. That's why we call them scan converters, converting the scan lines to be an image. So this is the main part of the scan converter is here. This is the last step before the frame is delivered to the display. So this scan converter of the image processor, or again the memory, is it has two types, the analog and the digital type. The analog type, which is no longer in use, it was made of a thick glass funnel shaped glass tube. It has electron gun, which is here. This electron gun is emitting a beam of electrons. These beam electrons are writing over the dielectric matrix here. This electron beam is the writing here depends on what you call the deflection. So the deflection plates, these are two types of plates, vertical and horizontal plates. They are directing the beam to write on top of this dielectric matrix. Okay, dielectric matrix is made of millions of electron buckets. Each bucket will store a number of electrons representing the brightness of each dot. So this is the beam of electrons. This beam of electrons, before it's gonna be directed by the deflection plates, it should be focused first. So the focusing coil, and then next to that we have the deflection plates, and these are directing the electron beam that is coming from the electron gun. This dielectric matrix, which is receiving these electrons, is made of, as I mentioned, electron buckets, millions of electron buckets. According to this, we get the image that is plotted or written over this dielectric matrix, which is representing each dot brightness as a number of electrons stored in this electron bucket. This type of scan converters was, like I mentioned, was used in the past, but it has a lot of limitations, like the image is fading. If you push freeze, the image is depleting the repeated display of this image is depleting the electron boxes. That's why it's going to be in fading. There is flickering. Why? Because it takes time to plot the image and then to send it to the display. That's why the display is not smooth. It's flickering display. We can recognize each frame. And also there is instability because by time this analog scan converter should be replaced. It's warning because the time is worn out. So now we come to the digital scan converter, which is the current type of scan converters that we are having in our ultrasound systems. And it's made of three components. This is the starting component or the starting point, which is A to D converter. And this converter is converting the analog signal that are coming from here, from the receiver. They should be converted to digital because the scan converter is a digital. Digital means it's working with zeros and ones, but these are here is working with amplitudes, simple signal amplitude. So that's why this signal amplitude should be converted to zeros and ones so that scan converter can understand. So this is the starting point. The endpoint, let me go to the endpoint first, which is the D to A, this digital to analog. Why? Because sometimes the display here, if we have an analog display, it will not understand the zeros and ones. It should convert these zeros and ones, which are the digital signals, to the analog signals, which are easy to display by the analog display. But if we have the system that is not having analog display, but it has only digital display, so then we don't need this end part. So the end part here is depending on the display, if the display is analog or not. If the analog, we need to have to put this end point. So we have starting point and we have end point, and then we have the main body of the scan converter, which is made of two components, the digital matrix and the digital memory. So again, we have the A to D, analog to digital, digital matrix and digital memory, and then we have the D to A, which is digital to analog, which is depending if you have the analog display or not. So as we mentioned, we have the start point and the end point, and we are done with this. Now we go to the main component of the scan converter, which is the digital matrix and the digital memory. First, we'll discuss the digital matrix. Digital matrix is made of millions of pixels, okay? And this digital matrix pixels, this is the one that is used to process the image or to build the image. And that's why the scan converter sometimes is called what? Image processor. Image processor, why? Because this image is processed and built over this matrix of pixels. The pixel, what is the definition of the pixel? Is the smallest element of a digital matrix, okay? Picture, EL element, picture element, the smallest element of a digital picture. The pixel density will determine what we call the detail resolution. Okay, and we'll discuss this in a moment. So we have this digital matrix is determining the detail resolution. What else is also determining what you call the contrast resolution. Based on what? Based on how many available shades of gray for this digital matrix to be used to build the image. So we have, again, the detail resolution and contrast resolution. Contrast resolution means we have how many shades of gray are available for this matrix. All right. So again, this digital matrix is determining the detail resolution and the contrast resolution. How this is done, we go here. So let's start first by the detail or spatial resolution. Spatial or detail resolution in the scan converter is determined by how many pixels per inch, which is called the pixel density. How many pixels per inch? This is called the pixel density. If I'm having a higher pixel number per inch, I'm getting a better detail resolution. Lower pixel density, I will get worse detail resolution. And all of us, we are aware of this pixel density. When you go by a camera or a phone with a camera and you look for how many pixels here. This is the way that you can determine or you can know how good the image will be. So higher pixel density, you get a better detail solution. It's worth to mention here something that we already know from the previous discussions about the pulsar and the beamformer and in the receiver also. All these three components will determine what is, and the transducer, of course, this will determine what we used to call also the axial and lateral resolution. Why? Because this axial and lateral resolution also, they determine the spatial resolution or the detail resolution of the image that will be delivered to the scan converter. So originally, we knew already that the spatial resolution is determined by the axial resolution and the lateral resolution. Axial resolution is determined by what? By the SPL and or pulse duration. So SPL or pulse duration, these are determining how long is the pulse. This will determine again the axial solution. Axial solution of the image is equaling numerically equal to the half of the axial of the SPL. So axial resolution is numerically half of the SPL. Also, the spatial resolution is determined by lateral resolution. Lateral resolution is what? It's determined or built or depend on the beam diameter, which is getting smaller by focusing. So smaller beam diameter by focusing, I will get a better lateral resolution. Also, lateral resolution is determined by the scan line density. All right. So all these factors that we already mentioned before are sharing in the in the spatial resolution before this spatial resolution is determined by the scan converter. So again, we go to the scan converter, and we knew that there is something called the pixel density that will determine the spatial resolution. Okay. A common typical display and scan converter in many of the ultrasound machines is 512 pixels by 512 pixels per inch. So the inch square, it will contain 262,144 pixels. This in one square inch. Okay, many of the newer scan converters now and the newer display, they have higher pixel density. So again, the newer machines, they're having higher pixel density for the scan converters and higher pixel density for the display. That's why we get a better detail resolution. Lower pixel density, we have large size pixels. That will give me worse spatial or detail resolution. A higher pixel density, which is the best way, okay, higher pixel density, you get small size pixels, and this will give you a better spatial resolution. A visual discussion or a visual display of the pixel density you have here. This is the famous picture of the Mona Lisa or the Gioconda, and you can see here it's displayed in two formats. In the format, the first format here, that is we're having a lower pixel density, we get higher, bigger size of pixels, and we get less details. This display here is made of higher pixel density, smaller size pixels, and you get a higher display or a bigger, better display. Okay, this here is, if you have 1 inch, and you can tell here that this inch is made of 4 pixels because we have 2 pixels per inch. If we have here the same inch and we get smaller size pixels, what happened? I will get smaller size pixels, more pixels per inch. So we have here the 4 pixels per inch in this display. If you get here more smaller size inch the pixels, I will get more pixels per inch, and I will get here a better detail. So more pixels per inch, smaller size pixels, and in this here we have 8 pixels per inch. Of course, this is like, it's not an actual display, because as we mentioned earlier, in the reality, the number might reach up to 512 or higher pixels per inch here. So the higher the pixel number, the better the resolution. Now we move to the next function of the main component of the scan converter, digital scan converter, and the next part is the contrast resolution. Contrast resolution, it depends on how many shades of gray. Somebody will say shades of gray mean what? Meaning that how many shades of gray are available for each pixel. Okay, somebody will say, so each pixel can take more than 1 shade of gray? No, each pixel can take only 1 shade of gray, but how many available shades of gray for this pixel, this will determine the contrast resolution. So contrast resolution here, it depends on how many shades of gray available for each pixel. Okay, somebody will say, oh, we can get it. Okay, let me give you an example. If you have a stadium that is receiving, for example, 5,000 spectators or 5,000 audience in this stadium. Okay, each one of these is called the pixel. Okay, each one of these seats, it can be occupied by one audience. So I can't get two audience or two persons on one seat. So how many seats are there? This is the pixel density. Okay, each seat will receive only one person, and each one person will get one hat. For example, there is thousands of hats of thousands of colors are available before they get into the stadium. Each one of this audience will get one hat, and each seat will get this person with one hat. So if you look at this stadium from a distance, you get a lot of colors. These colors can plot a picture, for example. All right, but each pixel is having one color only, and this is how you can understand that each pixel will receive only one shade of gray. But how many shades of gray available? How many hats are there? This will determine what you call the contrast resolution. From the digital point of view, okay, this shades of gray, availability of shades of gray, it's determined by what you call the bit number. So again, the bit number will determine the number of shades of gray, which will determine the contrast resolution. I try to make it easier for you guys. So to understand the what you call the binary number, we need first to know something about the binary language. What is the binary language? Binary language is the computer language. So what is the computer language? It's the binary language. Why I call it binary? Because it's made of two numbers only, zeros and one, but they are in a series, and that's why we call it binary digits. Okay, so again, the binary language is made of two numbers only, 0 or 1. Okay, these 0 or 1, they are occupying a space called the digit. So this digit, for example, this one here, this digit, it can take only 0 or 1. That's why this digit, because it takes only one of two numbers, call it binary digit. So binary digit, this is the digit that can occupy one of two numbers. Binary digit, by digit. By T is called bit. So this is the bit. Bit is, you can understand it as an empty space that is ready to take one of two numbers. So this is the bit here. Okay, this is a bit. So what is the bit? This area, okay, that can occupy 1 or 0, right? So this bit is the smallest value of the digital processing. Why? Because we might have a lot of bits or a lot of binary digits that will go in series, and this is what we call the bit number of this assigned pixel. For example, you have, for example, a pixel that is assigned 3 binary digits or 3 bits. So the bit number of this pixel is 3, right? For example, if I'm having a bit number that will determine the contrast resolution is high, meaning that this pixel can occupy or can take, for example, 5 bits, all right? Or this pixel can take 10 bits. So the higher the number, meaning that this pixel can display many shades of gray. The less the number of bit number, okay, number of bits or bit number, okay, the less the number, the lower range of shades of gray. So I'm getting here less contrast resolution. In other words, more number of bits, I will get more dynamic range. I'm having a wider range of display. I will get more shades of gray. I will get high contrast resolution. Again, the higher number of bits, I will get more dynamic range, more range of display. I will get more shades of gray. I will get higher contrast resolution. The opposite here. If I'm having less number of bits, less number of bits, I will get less dynamic range. I will get lower number of shades of gray. I'll get lower contrast resolution. So the point that if I'm having a higher bit number, I will get a better contrast resolution. Okay, so again, the number of bits, we call it n, as we mentioned before. So n is the number of bits. How we can calculate the number of shades of gray that are displayed if we have, for example, number of bits is 3, meaning this pixel can display 3 bits. So the bit number of this pixel is 3. How we can calculate the shades of gray that are available for this pixel? How can I calculate it? Yes, there is a formula. This formula says what? The number of shades of gray is equal to number of 2 to the power of n. N is the number of shades of gray. So for example, if the bit number is 3, okay, how many available shades of gray? I can get 2 to the power of 3. 2 to the power of 3 means 2 times 2 times 2, which it means 8. So this pixel can display one of the 8 shades of gray. Okay, somebody will say, okay, this is mathematically, can we have it like visually? Yes. Imagine that I'm having here, let me put some, imagine that this is here the pixel, okay? This pixel, right, can have uh, 3 shades, sorry, a bit number 3 bit number. The bit number for this pixel is 3. Each one of these bits, it can occupy either 0 or 1. 0 or 1, it means that this is the bistable, which is 0 or 1, or complete white or complete black. So 0 or 1 means that white or black, black or white, okay? Now I'm having here these the 3 bits by combinations and permutations. I can imagine that we're having here either 1, 1, 1 or 0, 1, 1 or 1, 0, 1 or 0, 0, 1 or 1, 1, 0 or 0, 1, 0 or 1, 0, 0 or 0, 0, 0. As you see here, these 8 combinations are formed out from the 3 bits. And this, I'm just using this to show you how many shades of gray are coming from these bits. Based on this, from having here 1, 1, 1 means white, 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 I will get here complete white. 0, 0, 0 means I'm having black, black, black. I'm getting here the complete black. And in between, the shades of gray are based on what? Based on the combinations of the zeros and ones here that will give me the shades of gray here. All right. So in short, I just put this to help us to imagine how many bits will give me how many shades of gray. And this is the mathematical way. Okay, how many bits, it gives me how many shades of gray. If I go to the number 2 to the power of the bit number, I will get the number of shades of gray. All right. So these are the number of shades of gray are 8. If you count them, they are 8 because I'm having 8 combinations here. 8 number of shades of gray coming out from what? From bit number 3. So let's expand the discussion with the bit number. Okay. Like we mentioned earlier, we have here bit number of 3 bits per pixel. Okay. I'm having here 8 shades of gray. How can we calculate this? 2 to the power of 3. 2 to the power of 3, I can get here how many shades of gray available, and we came up with the number 8. Now, what if I'm having, for example, bit number is 8 bits. So I'm having this pixel can receive 8 bits. How many shades of gray available now? Okay, how can I calculate it? Go to the number 2 to the power of 8, meaning that 2 times 2, 2 times 2, 2 times 2, 2 times 2. I'm having here 8 bits, okay? And each one of these, with calculate the number, multiply them, I'll get here 256. So the higher the bit number, the more shades of gray available, and this will give me a better contrast resolution. So imagine now that I'm having a machine that is having one that's having 3 bits, the other one is having 8 bits. These are the shades of gray available for this machine that has 8 bits, and these are the shades of gray available for the machine that has 3 bits. And can you see here, there are a lot of shades of gray that are available here, but not in the 3 shades of gray. For example, okay, this one here is the complete white. This shade of gray is here. But between this and the wet, there are a lot of shades of gray that I can display now using this 256 shades of gray. Example here, this is the complete black, and this is the shade of gray that is in the 3-bit machine. Okay, for example, I would say that is coinciding with this shade of gray. In between the complete black and this shade of gray, there are available shades of gray that are only available in the 8-bit number, but not available in the 3-bit number. Okay, somebody will say, is it important for me in the ultrasound display? Yes, because it can allow me to show shades of gray. For example, I have a tumor in the liver, and the liver tissue and the tumor tissue are so close to each other in their shades of gray. So they are similar, but not exactly the same. For example, assuming that this is the shade of gray for the tumor, and this is the shade of gray of the liver, right? Okay, both of these, if I'm having only 3 shades of gray, sorry, 3-bit number, okay, they will be displayed this color. If I'm having bit number 8, I can see them separate. So the more shades of gray, that will help me in the diagnosis of ultrasound. That's why I call it contrast resolution, contrast ultrasound resolution. All right? By more bit number, more shades of gray, I can see better contrast between the two types of tissues that are similar in their echogenicity, but not the same. Somebody will say, so we have the binary number, right? The 0 or 1, and we have a decimal number. What is the difference? Okay, by number we have only 2 options, either 0 or 1, but in the decimal numbers, numerical system, okay, we have 10 options. What are these 10 options? Is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So these are the decimal numerical system that has 10 options. The binary numerical system, the binary numerical system has only 2 options, either 0 or 1. Can I convert, if I'm having a number that is binary number, a digital number or binary number, I can convert it to the decimal number? Sometimes you might have a question like this in the SPI exam. How can you convert a binary number to a decimal number? How can you do that? Let's assume that this is the binary number. I'm having here 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1. Okay, this is the binary number. I want to convert it to the decimal number. Is there a way? Yes, we can do that. How can you do that? Okay, put this decimal binary number in the binary digits here. So I'm having here binary digit. So I put the same number here, binary number, to the binary digits here. Okay, so this is 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1. So these are the binary digits, right? The bits. So I'm having here bits. Each bit is having its own number, all right? Now we know something here about the weight of the value of each of these bits. They are layers, actually. Okay, for example, if I'm having a machine that has these are 11, okay? So these are 11 bits. A machine that has 11 bits here, each one of these layer is having a value different from the other. For example, here, if this bit, its value is 1. The next bit, its value is double, so its value is 2. The next bit, its value is double, it will be 4, and so forth. So each one of these bits, okay, it has a value. So if it is clicked, it will eliminate or display this value. Example, okay, this bit here, okay, it's occupied by number 0. Its value is 1024. This is its value. Based on this duplication here, I will get here to this bit. Its value is 1000, it's 1024. Okay, so this is here the value of this bit. Now we come here for this bit, for example, its value is 8. Okay, this bit here, its value is 32. So as we see here, the value of each one of these bits is different, and if it's clicked, it will display this value. Let me put here the number and let's go for the decimal value here. So this bit is 1 and its value is 1. So it will 1 times 1, you get 1. This bit here, its value is 2, but it's 0. So 0 times 2 equals 0. This bit here, its value is 4, but the bit here, the bit number is 0. So again, I will get 0 times 4, I will get 0, and so forth. For example, let me take this one here, okay? This binary digit, its value is 256, and the binary number is 1. So 1 times 256, I'll get here 256. So I go over all of these. This is how you calculate. You do it. If you go to the exam, you can do that. You have a erasable chart with erasable marker. You can plot the digits here, binary the bits, okay, the bits here, and the decimal here. And you go here you take the number, the bit number they gave you, and you put it here, the binary number. And you go, each one of these bits, duplicate its value. So the value here is 1, and then 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, so forth, till 128, till you get the end of the binary number that you got. And then multiply the binary number by the value of each one. And you put here a column of these of these decimal values here. Okay, and you then add them together. So I have here 1 plus 16 plus 32 plus 256 plus 512, and you got here all at the end I will get 817. So how many? This is the decimal number. Yes, this is the decimal number of this binary number. Okay, so 817. How we can get it? This is the format that we can use. So please remember this here, the binary number. This is the decimal number. This is the binary numerical values, and these are the decimal numerical values of this binary number here. Okay, again, by number, this one, it ended by a decimal number of 817. We need to know some definitions for the binary language. What is the byte? Byte is formed of 8 bits. What is the computer word? Is made of 2 bytes, which is 16 bits. What is the RAM? Is the random access memory. Can be revised by the user. So what does it mean? You can rewrite over the RAM. And this is how you can do the, for example, imaging. And imaging, you can go and rewrite, each frame rewrites the next one. So there are a lot of RAMs in the scan converter. Okay. Also in the computer, if you type something like in a Word format, okay, you can erase and retype and erase. All of these are done over the RAM. Okay. And then we have the ROM, R-O-M, is the read-only memory. This is the one that if you got this, whatever you do, and you store it or save it, that will be stored or saved in the ROM, which is the read-only memory. You can read it. If you want to rewrite again, you have to put it to the RAM. So the ROM will give you whatever you read to the RAM, and then you can rewrite or revise, and then you send it back to the ROM. So if you have any information, any binary, any digital information, binary language, and you want to revise it, you put it to the RAM. If you want to save it, that will be stored in the ROM, because the ROM is a read-only memory. So we finish now what we call the digital matrix. Now we come to the next component of the main body of the scan converter. We mentioned that scan converter again. We have starting point, which is the A to D, and we have the main body, which is the digital matrix and the digital memory, and then we have the end point, which is the D to A if we have analog display. So we come here to the main body, and we come to the digital memory. This is the second one. Okay, again, remind me that the digital memory is why the scan converter sometimes called the memory, because of this. It has a digital memory. Okay, what is the digital memory doing? After the image is formed using the matrix, which is the detailed resolution matrix, is the pixels, okay, that is determining the detailed resolution, and the bit number that will determine the contrast resolution. Now I'm getting an image that is built over the digital matrix. This image, before it's gonna be displayed, the memory will take a copy of this and keep it in the memory. So after building all the pixels in the image matrix, right, a copy of this frame is saved on the scan converter memory before it's gonna be displayed. So there is a copy that is saved here on the scan converter. Scan converter, and that's why scan converter is called sometimes the memory. Okay, how many frames that can be saved over the memory? Okay, usually there are ranging a number between 150 to 200. It's variable based on the how the manufacturer is building the storage capacity of the scan converter. Okay, 150, this is the average, but sometimes I have some machines might get more sheets of more frames or less frames. So what is the function of this memory? Some of these functions that we can use in our scanning. For example, if you put freeze or unfreeze, what happened? Okay, if you put freeze, you will hold on the pulsar, so the pulsar will not send any pulsation. That is, the transducer will get silent completely. Nothing coming out from the transducer. Okay, and you will get again the received signals, nothing to be received. So you have the pulsar is silent, the pulsar here is silent, transducer is silent, beamformer is silent, the receiver is silent. So where the display is coming from? It's coming from the memory here. So when you hit freeze, the display is displaying the last frame that is present on the memory. All these components will be silent, will be hold on. Okay, only the display will come from the last frame that is saved over the memory here. Okay, so the memory buffer here is the one is repeatedly display this. For example, if I'm having, assuming that I'm having 60 frames per second on the display, right? These 60 frames are coming again from the last frame, so they will not be updated. It's the last frame that will be displayed 60 times per second, right? And that's why you can see here the picture is displaying constantly over your display. This is the freeze and the unfreeze. The next function that we can use the memory is the loop. Loop is what? Again, I'm displaying all the frames that have been stored over the memory, right? Repeatedly. So loop means that I'm displaying, for example, this memory, assuming that the memory of the scan converter is 200 frames. So the last 200 frames while you are scanning, the last 200 frames are saved in the memory. If you're gonna loop, for example, freeze and go for loop, it will go by these frames. How can I know that? If you, for example, you use that trackball to go over these frames. So these frames are saved in the memory, and you can go over these through the trackball. We all do that when you scan. you can get, for example, you freeze now and I want to go back for example, 15 frames or 100 frames back. Okay, I can do that through the memory function of the scan converter. So since we discussed the memory, okay, all the events that happen before the memory, we call them pre-processing. So what is the pre-processing and what is the post-processing? Depending on all the events that happen before the last frame is formed and saved to the memory or not. So any event that happen before this memory, okay, is called the pre-processing. So let's have here, for example, simple discussion here. For example, the transducer is a pre-processing, beamformer pre-processing. All the functions of the pulsar are pre-processing. All the functions of the receiver are pre-processing. Okay, the pixel density and the bit number, which is the contrast resolution. Okay, all these are pre-processing because they are doing all this job before the frame is formed. Once the frame is formed and saved, okay, so now I move what we call the post-processing. Post-processing, that I can do something to this frame, right, in the after it's been saved in the memory. So this is called post-processing. So again, all events before saving the frame in the memory are called the pre-processing. All the events that are after that are called the post-processing. Okay, what is the difference between this and that? Simply the post-processing, okay, you can change it after the picture is frozen. If if I freeze the frame, I can do some changes to it, yes, and these are called the in the post-processing. So I can perform the post-processing on the frozen image, and it can be undone again. I can go back to the frozen image. Examples of pre-processing, okay? Output power, depth, these are functions of the pulsar. The output power, the depth of scanning, which is the PRF, maximum PRF, okay? The output power, if I'm having high amplitude or low amplitude, I can get brighter image or less, right? The frequency selection, this is done also by the pulsar. You have a higher frequency or lower frequency on the same transducer. This is done by the pulsar. Okay, now we go here for the beamformer. Okay, the focusing. You know that focusing, the transmit focusing, is done through the beamformer. The beam steering is done by the beamformer. Apodization done by the beamformer. Total gain is done by the receiver. TGC done by the receiver, compression done by the receiver, rejection done by the receiver, demodulation actually is done by the receiver. Okay, A to D, like here, is done by the before the memory is saving the image. Right zoom, persistence, spatial compounding, all of these are functions that are done here in the scan converter, but before the image is saved. So all of these are called pre-processing. Fill-in interpolation, okay, spatial compounding, Doppler applications, all the Doppler applications, the color Doppler application, the waveform, spectral waveform, all of these are pre-processing. So as you see here, most of the functions of the machine are pre-processing, means that all of the functions are done before the image is saved on the, or have a copy saved in the memory. Okay, now we go for the post-processing. Post-processing, as again, this is determining or discussing the events that can be done after the image is saved on the memory. All right. So after the beam is converted to images and the image is saved to the memory, now if I do anything or I'm available to do anything for this image, this is called post-processing. For example, D2A, the digital to analog. If I'm having analog display and the image should go to the display, okay, D2A, digital to analog, is a post-processing. Read zoom is a post-processing. We'll come to this in a moment now. Grayscale mapping is a post-processing. I can change the grayscale of the image if I go to the mapping, okay, while the image is saved already, frozen, okay. Display control. Somebody will say, what is this display control? Any of the display, this is, or any of the monitors, it's having its own controls. You can understand this if you know that your computer, for example, you can change the contrast of the computer, the display. You can change the brightness of the screen. All these are related to the display itself. It's not related to the ultrasound system. Here is very specific to this display. So, for example, I have two display. Assuming that I'm having two display, I can get one display that has display controls different from the other. Okay, in some sites you might see a monitor over the screen for the patient to look at, especially in the OB sites. Okay, so the mom will be happy to see this display, right? I might change the controls of this display different from the display that I have on the machine I'm having. So this display controls me, for example, the brightness, the contrast, the color mapping, all of these for the display are post-processing. 3D and 4D rendering, either the tissue rendering or the surface rendering, these are post-processing, okay? Image archiving, this is, for example, if you put the image to the printer or put the image to your, for example, USB, or any kind of archiving of the images or saving the images is a post-processing. PACS system, this is in hospitals, okay? You work in a hospital, you can see this, the PACS system. This is post-processing. So these are examples of post-processing. Like we mentioned earlier, we mentioned something called the read zoom and the write zoom, okay? Let's understand this in a way, okay? If I'm having a person, you have your camera and you're having a picture of a home that is almost like half a mile away or whatever, okay, or a quarter of a mile away, and you have in front of this home there is a car and there are trees and gardens and so forth, okay, streets, okay, and you get this picture and somebody will you tell you, okay, this is a nice picture, but I like this car. Can you show me the details of this car? Okay, and you tell them, okay, I can do that if I'm having my magnifying glass. So you get your magnifying glass, magnify the picture of the car, and let them, okay, how about this? I can see it, but I don't see the details. Can you give me more details? You tell them, okay, wait a minute. I will take the camera and go to this car and get a picture for this car. The whole picture is only the car. And I come back to you. Now you can see the details. Yes, I can see it. So this is exactly what you call read zoom and write zoom. Read zoom, you are magnifying what is already there. You don't have another picture. It's the old picture that you have, and you just put a magnifying glass. So it's the same region of interest. What is ROI? It's called the region of interest. Okay. The same region of interest in the memory. I'm not doing anything else. I'm not rescanning. The same region of interest. This is called the region of interest. Okay. I put it here. On the magnifying glass. So it's like the pixel size is increased. I'm stretching the pixel size. I'm just putting a magnifying glass here. So the pixel size is the same. The pixel density is the same. I'm not adding any pixel to the car. The car is displaying the same number of pixels that are displaying this car. So I'm not having any pixel density increase or decrease. It's the same pixel density, the same size of the pixel, and that's why I get the same detail resolution. I'm not getting any details of the picture of the car. I'm just stretching the picture of the car. This is called the read zoom. Now we go here to the write zoom. What happened, like I mentioned earlier, okay, the region of interest is rescan. So the car that I'm gonna have interest on, okay, I'm gonna hear this car is rescanned, get a new picture, right? The pixel size is the same because I'm not changing the pixel size of the picture. I'm just using more pixels for this car, right? So the pixel number or the pixel density is increased, but the size of each pixel is the same, right? So the pixel size is the same, but the number of pixels used for the car is increased now, right? I'm getting more pixels that I can get more details of the car. So what happened here? I get an increase, okay, of the detail resolution or better detail resolution. So right zoom, okay, I will get the rescanning, same pixel size, but I'm having more pixel density, more detail resolution. In the read zoom, the region of interest is not rescanned, the pixel size is stretched, and the same density of the pixels, and we get the same detail resolution. So this is here, in short, what we call the read and write zoom. This is here just a visual example of, this is here the region of interest, okay? And I'm getting only, in the read zoom, I get this region of interest. I made that why the pixels are stretched. I'm getting the same number of pixels, but the pixel size is increased. This is called the read zoom, as if I'm getting a magnifying glass, put it on over this region of interest. Okay, now what if I told you get this picture with the right zoom? So this is the same region of interest, but now I rescan. So I'm getting here the same region of interest, but rescan. I'm using more pixels for this region of interest. So I'm getting here, this is the right zoom, and this is the read zoom. Thank you, everybody, and I hope that lecture was beneficial for you, and see you later in the display.